Welcome to the Work in Progress podcast, where we keep our whip in check. And now, here's Michelle, certified coach and founder of Strive Leadership Development.
Welcome to the Work in Progress podcast. I am so excited to introduce my guest today. This is Terry Barrett, and Terry is a national builder manager with Movement Mortgage. And so I'm so excited to have you here because we have known each other a very long time. We've watched each other along the way in all of the economic changes and all of the things that have happened. And I'm just excited to be here talking to you today about your path and success and all the words of wisdom you have to share. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks, Michelle. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Well, so I love the guitars in the background. Are you a big guitar player?
I struggle with every note, but I've got a really good collection. We'll put it that way.
Oh,
and
I love that.
I've played in a couple of 3-chord play for free at your friends' parties kind of bands.
Those are the best, though. That is a lot of fun because then you can just do it when you feel like it, and when
exactly, no pressure.
No pressure, exactly. Well, and I am similar in terms of that hobby. I have a lot of collections of guitars, but the playing is yet to happen more.
Great. Well, we'll have to compare collections offline.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks for being here. I wanted to have you here because, as I talked about in the introduction, you and I have known each other for a really long time, and we've been in the real estate, new construction, building industry throughout most of the time we've known each other anyway. And it's so, I find it so interesting, and I love talking to people who have, worked through success, worked through all of the changes with the economy, the market, all the ups and downs. And, anyone still hanging in there after all of it, it gets in your blood, but it takes a lot of fortitude and commitment to stay focused on, doing and bringing yourself to it every day and making it successful. So what do you love about this industry? Why are you doing it?
Well, this industry is a great one, and has been, and geographically, we're in a great place for new home building. I started my career in the mortgage business, just literally calling on any realtor or anybody I could get to take a meeting, right? And it's a tough business. It's a tough business to break into, but you reach a certain point where you realize, okay, I can make a career out of this, right? And for me, it happened in Raleigh in new construction. Actually in Cary, I became the preferred lender for a builder that had a relatively large condo project going on in Cary, and became their preferred lender. And every Monday, I would have 5 to 10 calls from people who had been out and looked at those projects and wanted to see what the financing would look like. And so that was the point where you go from struggling for every deal, looking at every nook and cranny to try and find somebody that needs a mortgage, to actually having a relationship with a builder and able to help them with their sales. And it just kind of all fell into place for me. And new construction has been my passion from that point onward.
I love it. I can't take credit for this, but so many people, I've heard this saying before, that there isn't any such thing as luck. That luck is the combination of being in the right place at the right time, but recognizing it and taking action on it when it's there. And I think when you're new and you're trying to figure it out, you're primed to be able to recognize those things when they come along and make sure you're completely available to react and take action.
My dad had a saying that fits right into that. It was, the harder I work, the luckier I get.
Yes, that's a good one. Yeah. So that was sort of the beginning, and then new construction just got in your blood from there.
It did. Back to what I would attribute my success to is building relationships, right? If people know you, like you, and trust you. Those are the three kind of tiers that I like to establish with folks that I work with. And, it went from there. Once I started to get a little bit of reputation as working well with new home buyers, I would meet other builders. I was very active in the Home Builders Association and the Sales and Marketing Council here in town, and just continue to build those relationships.
That's what it always boils down to, for sure. In most any industry, anyone watching who's not in this industry, it can apply for them too, but also for sure in this industry. So that's how you got into mortgages and helping customers and helping them realize their dream of being able to purchase a home and, really create wealth for themselves and that security for themselves. But then how did you manage to work yourself into more of a management and leadership positions? What made you attracted to being willing to go down that road?
Yeah. Well, like many mortgage lenders, I bounced around quite a bit in my early career. And, but then I was lucky enough to latch on with one of our largest real estate firms here in the Triangle, had a joint venture with one of the largest mortgage companies in the world. And so I was able to come on with them managing their new construction department. They had a new homes division with, at any given time, 20 to 30 communities. And that was my base of referral partners. So I was partnering with those on-site agents and those builders to take care of their customers. And when that joint venture came to an end, my mentor at the large finance company kind of plucked me out of being an originator and brought me into the National Builder Division. So it was a big change for me, where I went from originating loans to actually working with builders and putting together relationships for loan officers that worked for that company. So it became more of a relationship manager, a consultant, a rainmaker, whatever you want to call it, but not actually taking a loan application from a customer and seeing it through to closing. So that was a big change for me, a leap of faith, right? You have to let go of something that you've developed reasonable, good processes and systems and things like that, and completely change your prospects from just working for yourself to helping other people. And I've really enjoyed that piece of it.
Yeah. What do you think was the biggest challenge for you in the managing of other people and the leading of them, other than, like you said, sometimes giving up what you used to do and letting go of that? That's one thing. And then leading them. What does it take? What was the biggest challenge of that for you?
So it wasn't very challenging once I made the decision to make the jump. It's interesting. I've always said the two things I love about this role, and I've continued this to my new employer, Movement Mortgage, is I don't have any direct reports and I don't have a profit and loss. So I'm able to essentially just be a resource and somebody that most folks are happy to see when I come visit somebody in a branch in one of our markets.
I love that advice so much, because I talk to a lot of clients who really get hung up on the idea of once they're promoted into a management position, they don't know how to really lead people and manage them. And you just said what I in different words, what I say to them all the time, which is you do the same thing you did when you just had your clients, when you just had, your job to do before. You earn their respect and get them to know, like, and trust you. And when you build that, you become a resource, you become a support person for them.
Yep. Anytime you can add value to somebody's career, it's a great and very rewarding role that I'm in right now. So I wouldn't do anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I love that you're saying too, like letting go of the idea of what the responsibilities are sometimes and what the job is, and staying very focused on these metrics can take you away from just being a good human and being a good support person for them. That's who they're excited to see. And that's what makes the impact for them every day. It's amazing. I love it. So as you've grown tremendously, even just since that time. Tell us what were the challenges that you faced along the way?
So it's interesting. I've always said one of the things I like about this business is you rarely get a hard no from a potential client, right? Normally it's just they don't call you back. And so you don't get that discouragement a lot of times. And it is a numbers game. You've got to be talking to as many people as possible that are in a position to refer you business, to start a partnership with, to create growth, right? It's all about growth. In my case, it was growth specific to one pillar of our business, which is new construction, as opposed to, reverse or realtors or financial consultants. There are all kinds of different pillars that you can build your business on. But new construction was my chosen one. And it's, as I said, the challenges have been, I guess, more the hand I was dealt. I mentioned I was with the largest mortgage company in the country for quite a long time, almost 22 years. And there were some changes there. Kind of went from a sales organization to a risk management organization. And so I kind of felt like I had a ceiling over what I was able to do as far as getting out there and creating new relationships. And so yeah, probably my biggest failure was not recognizing that early enough, that that things had changed and maybe my role was not as important to the company as it had been in the past. And so the company I always thought I would retire from, I ended up at some point deciding that there was not enough reason to keep me there, and there was more reason for me to pursue excellence elsewhere.
Well, and, as we know, when those things happen, usually they're opportunities for what's greater for you on the other side. And
again, a leap of faith to leave what you're used to, and 22 years is nothing to sneeze at, right? But it's one of those pros and cons thing. And when the cons of staying outweigh the pros, and you see opportunity and you find something that you can reinvigorate your career and get excited about. And, for me, that happened 2 years ago. Well, it happened about 2.5 years ago. It took me 6 months to figure out what the next place was going to be. But I just had my 2-year anniversary here at Movement Mortgage, and it's been a dream job.
Yeah, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And I love that, 6 months isn't a quick amount of time. You're not making rash decisions. And I think that that's such a good lesson too. Like, it's good for you to recognize, evaluate, make some decisions for yourself so that when it's time that you're doing it from a place where you're really centered in that and knowing that it's right.
Yeah, you've got to do your homework and not make a rash decision. Correct.
Yeah. So you mentioned like that leap of faith, that's scary. I mean, how did you overcome that fear? What are the tools someone could walk away with to say, how do I manage that fear?
Yeah, it was really, as I mentioned, kind of a pros and cons, and the pro column kept growing, and the con column kept growing, and ultimately you reach a point where you just say, got one go round in this world. It's time to take a calculated risk. Again, it wasn't a wild risk. I've got family and responsibilities and all that stuff. So you've got to be pretty sure that you're doing the right thing. But I was comfortable with the people. I was comfortable with the company. I did the vetting. I did the research, and it at the time that it happened, it was the right thing to do. And so made the jump.
Yeah, you just became really solid in your decision and trusting yourself that you've done what you can to make that best decision for yourself, which is so valuable. Yeah. You mentioned early on your dad, a quote from your dad. Who have been your mentors along the way?
Yeah, my dad was number one by a long stretch, engineer by trade, turned entrepreneurial at some point, was very active in the community, active in his church, just a all around solid guy, great dad, lots of little nuggets like the one I just gave you, but just a great a great role model. But there have been lots of others professionally along the way. I mentioned the manager who kind of plucked me out of the loan originator ranks to join the management on the new construction side. And he was my boss for 13 years, and we still talk on probably every 2 to 3 weeks. And even though we're both at different companies now, we help each other out. We bounce ideas off each other, and it's been great. And then the folks here at Movement, this company is owned by one guy. His name's Casey Crawford, and he is just incredible. He's got a Super Bowl ring. He has created a company which is now the 6th largest independent mortgage bank in the country. And we are 49% owned by a charitable foundation. So we give almost half of our profits away. And that piece of it, coming from an organization that is run by stockholders and boards of directors and all that, and coming to a place where, it sounds kind of crazy, but it's almost like karma over here. Like the more money they give away, the more successful they become, and the more they grow, and the more talent they attract. And so it's been really an incredible experience.
Wow. It's kind of like, I've talked about this before too, with a lot of guests on the show, that you almost have to go through what you may not even realize is negative, but you have to go through the whole path so that you really appreciate the things that are so great when they come along.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And it's been, like I said, one of my only regrets is I wish I'd gotten here sooner.
Yeah. Well, so you did say that. And so when you think about like, what's the biggest failure, which we hate to even use the word failure because there are always usually opportunities to pivot and gifts and all of that. But what would you say is, in your career, what's been your biggest failure?
It's trying to think. I guess sometimes it's been just finding the correct fit, right? I mentioned I bounced around quite a bit before I landed the job that I spent most of my career at. And it's finding that fit. It's finding the people that support you. It's finding a place where you're comfortable and you're motivated to work hard. And I had several missteps early in my career. Some to the point where I contemplated getting out of this business, and really close to trying something different a couple times. And looking back on it, very glad that I didn't. It's worked out really well for me, and again, has provided me a level of success that's I'm able to take good care of the family and not have too much stress. It's a good combination.
That's great. Well, and I love your advice, because there's a lot of people watching here right now who might be in their own challenging situation at work. And they're thinking, I don't know if this is going to work out. I don't know if I'm going to cut it. I don't know if I want to keep going in this. And I think you've said, it's kind of like trusting yourself to know, all right, when am I going to keep going? And I just need to not quit. And when do I need to logically look at the pros and cons here and recognize when it is the right time? But either way, it comes down to trusting yourself to know the difference.
Yep. And it's not always a cut and dry decision, right? There's like I said, there's always a gray area, right? And it's just whether it's darker gray or lighter gray, maybe. What's the shade of gray?
Yeah, totally. Well, and I think it's important to say that if you're a hardworking, high quality, all of those things type of person, there wasn't a wrong decision you could have made back then. Even if you had decided to go in a completely different direction, you would have done great at whatever that was. So there wasn't.
I don't know. You don't know what I was considering, Michelle.
Well, it wasn't guitar playing, evidently.
That's a tough way to make a living.
Yes, that is very true. It seems like comparing the two, you definitely made the right choice. I hear you. I say that to myself all the time. I waited for Eric Clapton to call me for the longest time because I was sure he needed a backup singer, and he just never called. So I figured I'll stick with what I've got. Seemed to be working. Yeah. So you brought up a topic I think would be interesting for everyone to hear your thoughts on. You're in an industry that changes fairly constantly, and it changes with factors and situations that are really out of your control. Like you literally have zero control over many, many, many of the factors that allow you to do business, conduct business, and allow you to function and it's constantly changing. What is your advice for how to manage change and the constant evolution of things you can't control?
Yeah, it's a great question, because right now our industry, the mortgage industry is going through a trough, right? Because everybody who owns a home out there has a 3% mortgage on it. Rates are in the high 6s, low 7s right now. So people are staying put. House prices have continued to appreciate. So folks are looking at, I can sell my house for a good profit, but the next house I'm going to buy is going to be similarly inflated, and my interest rate's going to be almost double what I've got now. So most folks are staying put unless they have a life event that is dictating that they need to change houses, right? They're moving to a different city, they're getting married, they're having kids, they're getting divorced, whatever the life event is. The good part of that for us is that there's still an underlying shortage of homes, depending on which article you read, between 3 and 5 million, right? And so the only way out of that is going to be to build our way out of it. And so partnering with home builders right now is something that is very lucrative going forward. And so we're using this little downtime to improve our systems, to expand our product offerings. We are coming up with ways to partner with builders outside of just doing the loans for their customers to buy the houses on the end. We're getting into doing vertical financing for builders. We're helping by aggregating our builders together and creating a buying platform for them to purchase building supplies. We've partnered with a company that provides home plans, and they're modifiable online. And so we're doing a lot of things with large builders. We have the ability to form a mortgage company. If we find a large builder, and we've done this on several occasions, where the D.R. Hortons and the David Weekleys, and not the David Weekley, sorry, the Lennars of the world own a mortgage company, right? But for most of your regional local builders, that's not something that they could do from scratch. But we have the ability, if they've got the critical mass of volume to support a small mortgage company, we can come in and bring our knowledge in. They can bring their stream of customers, and we can create a successful venture between us. And so things like that have been a lot of fun. That just coming up with new ways to enhance our product and partner with home builders.
That is an amazing, I love everything you guys are doing. I had no idea you were doing all of that. That's incredible. And I think it's important to point out that there's a lot of people who do not have that attitude right now, who are saying, ho hum, this is terrible. It's not the way it used to be. The market has gone south. It's harder than it used to be. I don't know if I want to keep doing this. Like, there's so many people who are in that mode, and companies that are operating in that mode right now. And when they do, they get stagnant. They freeze. They are certainly not creative and strategic and resourceful and doing all of the things you're doing. And the best part that I heard you say, my favorite word of all, is that you're having fun. Like, there's a lot of companies and people not having fun right now in this. And you are. Yeah.
We are, because it's new. It's an adventure. It's very entrepreneurial as well, which a lot of times the mortgage industry has not necessarily lent itself to that word. And so we've been having a lot of fun with that. And you mentioned before, you and I have both been through these economic cycles, and they always cycle back. Except for a very small period of time in both of our careers, buying a home has always been a financially beneficial decision. And there was just a small little period in 05 to 07, maybe, where you would buy a house and they saw some depreciation shortly after that. But again, we're way beyond that now. And if you look at the studies, buying a home is literally that building block for generational wealth. It's where you start, and it's almost irreplaceable in its value and the way that you can again start to build wealth. And so helping people with that, they call it the American dream. I mean, it's pretty close to encapsulating all that, because you get a place to live, to care about, to improve, to raise a family, and also it's probably one of the better investments you'll ever make.
It is very important work, for sure. And not to mention the amount of jobs that it creates, and how well the economy is able to function as a result of home ownership, for sure. So it is work that for sure is valuable and important to our country. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
And I consider myself very lucky to have been in it for as long as I was. Yeah.
Yep. I would echo that completely. And so once the Fed gets inflation under control and we get rates back down below 5, this market is poised to just take off like a rocket. So
yeah.
We're building, we're preparing ourselves to be ready when that happens.
Completely. I love that. And you're saying, I'm going to control what I can control right now. There's a million things I can't. So what are the things we can control? What can we decide that we can put into place to be ready for when it turns around? Because we know how this works. It's such a great approach to take to the market.
Exactly.
I love it. What advice do you have to give for somebody who's in the mortgage industry, maybe is still new, still back in the day of bouncing around and trying to figure out their spot and what makes sense for them and if it's even right for them? What advice do you have to give those folks right now?
So as I mentioned before, when I first got in the business, anybody who had a real estate license and would meet me for a cup of coffee or lunch, I was there, right? I think we have a lot more data available to us now so that you can be much more focused on partnering with people who can help your business, as whether they're already successful or whether they are on the fast track to being successful. A lot of times that's the people you want to partner with, are the ones that need that partnership to help them grow their business. They're at a crossroads and they're looking to go to that next level. Having a mortgage partner is a key piece of that, I think, for a realtor, because you can waste a lot of time if you are driving folks around looking at houses that don't qualify to buy anything. So that's a big key. One of the things that we do too, a lot of partnerships with our builders. Again, we're trying to help builders sell more houses. So whether that's helping them craft some financial incentives relative to the mortgage to do that, whether it's helping sponsor an open house, whether it's having a lunch and learn with their on-site agents to talk about new products and programs, first-time homebuyer seminar. We see a lot of our loan officers now. One of the cool things that we've kind of pioneered is a loan officer that's got a lot of realtor partners, but wants to partner with a builder. Is let's go to a builder and say, look, we'd like to have our real estate office come to your model and do a sales meeting for breakfast. And, we'll get coffee and donuts or bagels or biscuits or whatever, bring in 15, 20, 30 agents to this builder's model so they get a chance to see it. A lot of different things like that, getting creative about, again, trying to help builders and realtors grow their business. And that's a mutually beneficial type thing that I just described. And so we're doing a lot of things like that.
Yeah. How do I help other people succeed? And you will succeed because you're doing that. I love that. That's great advice. If you could go back to Terry 15 years ago, what would you tell him?
15. Let's see. What year would that have been?
Let's see.
Get my math going here. That's 2008. 2008. Ooh, yeah. We were just coming off the financial crisis there, right? Wow. That was another opportunity. And you mentioned before, sometimes feeling like you're not in control and maybe you just kick back and say, it's a bad time right now. I'm going to wait for things to come around. I think you need to be proactive. I think it's all about sales activities and building relationships. So in 08, that would probably be what I say, is go out there, be talking to more people. Don't sit at your desk and go, woe is me, and wait for emails and the phone to ring.
Yes, good. That is good advice. So one of the great things about this Work in Progress podcast is I always like to talk to everybody about how we are all a constant work in progress. Like we're never done. As long as we're still on this earth, we are still a work in progress. So from your perspective, how are you a work in progress today? What does that mean for you right now?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I mentioned. I mean, developing new products, and with each of those products, there's setting it up. There's in our business, there's a lot of regulatory and disclosure environment. It's figuring out, how the comp plans will work, the kind of revenue that they'll generate, who we're going to pay on that, how we're going to use the revenue generated to build further relationships, and so. Again, just always growing, always trying to move forward and think of new things. So, those are what I mentioned, probably 4 different avenues to partner with builders for us, where historically there's been one, and that's to become a preferred lender for a builder. And so, again, finding different ways to partner with them. I mean, we're constantly working with that, and the management here is very progressive and very enthusiastic and very open to that. And so the entrepreneurial EOS is what we use here. And it's got everybody thinking in terms of what can we do, constantly be growing. And even if that's thinking outside the traditional box.
Yeah. Yes. Love it. Love it. What do you want to most be known for?
Well, when I came over to Movement, Movement has historically been a very realtor-centric company. And when I first started my chats with them, it was under the guise of, are you guys ready to start a builder division? Because it didn't exist. And so we've really created it from scratch. Movement had some good builder relationships, but it really wasn't part of the DNA. It wasn't part of the thinking of the typical loan officer out on the street every day. And so I kind of see my goal as to demystify it and to put it top of mind, because it is, even if it's not your primary source of business, it is a pillar of your business that every successful loan officer should have.
So bringing that into awareness for them and helping them create a structure around that.
Right.
That's great.
So if we can grow Movement into one of the top 5 new construction lenders in the country, I'll consider my mission accomplished.
I love that. That's great. And I feel like with all of your success thus far, you are well on your way to accomplishing that for sure.
Well, we try to keep that front and center. What are you focusing on? And it's growth, and then it's how do we get there?
Yeah, that's amazing. So I don't know tell us what you like to do for fun. You have a beautiful family. You have 2 very strong and very smart daughters. Tell me what you do for fun.
So we're golf, I guess. I'm going to say that I was a late bloomer in the golf world. You probably know, in the mortgage home building industry, they have 4 or 5 Super Bowl Captain's Choice tournaments a year, right? Where you go out and you might drink a beer or 2, and you're going for it on every shot, right? Because you're playing with your partners, and that's not a good strategy to become a good individual golfer. But I've got a group of guys that I play with most Saturdays, and occasionally get out in the evenings during the week, especially since it's staying light longer during the summer. But that's something I really enjoy. You don't have to be good at something to enjoy it. So music and guitar is something that I'm very interested in. I've got a pretty good collection of music, and enjoy listening and discovering new artists and things like that. And then if I get a particular song that gets stuck in my head, figuring out how to bang it out on the guitar is a lot of fun as well. So that's it. And then, family and the kids, constantly keep me busy as well.
Yeah, I know you keep very busy with your family. You're very focused on them. So, and it shows. So that's fantastic. So I love that everybody gets to know you from this podcast today. And I love that you've shared, really just some great wisdom, and really just your experience is what I want to share with this audience, so that they can see first of all, it's not an easy path, and you certainly can't plan your path. Usually you have to be willing to pivot and move all the time and change all the time. And no matter what you've achieved and accomplished in life, there's always more. It will never end. There will always be other ways of growing, and the grass isn't greener when you get there. It's just different grass, right? So thanks for sharing all that today. I mean,
not the destination, it's the journey. So
totally. That's very hard to get around when you're in the moment, when you're in the tough parts of the journey, for sure. But that's the value, I think, of these conversations. So everybody really realizes it really is true. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, listen,
Absolutely.
Terry, thank you so much for being a part of this today and sharing all of that. I know everyone will gain so much from what you've had to share. And I just appreciate so much having you here.
Well, again, thanks for having me. And I hope people found some value out of some of the things I had to say. It's funny, I've been in this industry a long time, but I still, like, looking at myself from the outside, I still think I'm kind of new and got a lot to learn. So to your point, it never ends. You never reach a point where you say, I'm here and there's no more growth. There's no more new thinking, new ideas. So I would encourage everybody just to always be thinking about how you can improve, how you can help your company improve, how you can help your referral partners and your folks that you work with, your coworkers and all that. And that will go a long way towards ultimate success.
That is great advice. Absolutely fantastic advice for every single person listening to this. That is going to be a great mode of operation right there. Yeah. Thanks for sharing, Terry. I really appreciate you being here. And I hope what's ahead? How can somebody find you if they want to track you down and chat more? How would they find you?
My email is terry.barrett@movement.com.
Okay.
And that's the best way to find me.
Well, good. That's fantastic. And follow along with Movement to watch what you guys are doing in the future, because you're putting a lot of things in place. And I think we're about to see what's ahead for you guys as you guys really hit with some big changes and some great offerings out there to the market. So that'll be exciting. We'll be watching.
That sounds great. Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks, Terry.
Be sure to follow us on your favorite podcast and social media outlets to keep your whip in check.